quite yet. Cheese. Gee, look at that old place.
Looks like something out of a dream.
I'm so sick of these romantic comedies with these non-committal titles, you know, like Feeling Sorta Kinda, woo! Something's gotta give. It's like, that's like the movie's way of going, don't blame me, I got nothing to do with this. Give a movie a title. Give it, and get ready to bleep me, a motherfucking title. You know what the greatest movie title ever is? A movie title should let you see a free movie in your head when you hear the title. Because you go, oh my God, we gotta go see that. Greatest movie title ever? Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
My first movie memory is a memory of terror because I was at a Halloween activity day for kids. I was 5 down in Tustin Meadows, and it's the early 70s, and the adults, they meant well, but they were thinking, oh, let's make pumpkin cookies, and let's do cutout black cats, and we'll show the kids an old silent movie, Nosferatu. That'll be safe for the kids. It's an old silent G-rated. And they projected a little 8mm thing on a wall, and it was one of the, it's still one of the scariest things I've ever experienced. It's just this square of light on a wall in a library activity room, and we were just pulled out of early 70s Tustin Meadows and into this nightmare logic German vampire world. Really disturbing imagery that has its own creepy sense of time and gravity and logic, and it really, really messes you up. Nothing in Nosferatu moves very quickly. The vampire rarely moves. So it's like a series of photographs that are very, very disturbing. My first encounters with Texas Chainsaw Massacre were images. I wasn't able to, I didn't have access to the movie. This is now the early 80s, but you had access to Fangoria magazine. I was used to pictures of films being very well lit, very well composed, and these looked like crime scene photographs that had been stolen and then Xeroxed, and it was second and third generation, and there was something so primitive and forbidden and creepy about just the photos of the film were very, very disturbing. The title sounds like you're chewing on flesh. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It sounds like a guy just ripping into meat. And now, let's watch. My first viewing of Texas Chainsaw Massacre happened on my friend's small color TV in his living room with his ancient early 80s VCR, top loading, no rewind, no pause. You put it in, you hit play, boom, there you go.
Hello?
I bet his family spent $8 grand on that VCR. I remember my friend had this. We watched this at his house. This is a great. I love how they compiled a bunch of different images. This is Leatherface running away from the house at the very end. That's Pam being hung earlier. I always love the detail of the chainsaw hitting the T and the H, and it's like he's killing his own movie. That's how evil this guy is. It has the feel that the killers in the movie have stolen a camera and are filming all of this. The visuals and the film itself are ferocious and primitive and not quite human. And the stupidity of the point of view, just the animal stupidity of it, there's no clever dialogue.
Make him stop. No shit.
Shut your mouth. Can't be helped, young lady.
Please.
Shut up.
Let them kill me.
No mind.
There's no negotiating with this family. They're not doing it out of hatred. It's what they are.
You like this, Dave?
Much like in Jaws, you're like, why are you swimming in the ocean? That's where sharks live. It's kind of your fault. Man Bites Dog is this amazing Belgian film about a film crew, a young film crew that are besotted with cinema, who are following around a psychopath while he goes about his day and philosophizes on what life and death are. And it takes you a while to realize he's a moron, basically. But he happens to kill people. Man Bites Dog shares a lot of DNA with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but there are moments in Man Bites Dog when you see how it's affecting the film crew, all the killing that they're doing, and eventually that there is some kind of moral judgment going on. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is so much more brutal because the camera is simply observing, has no opinion, is not being affected by what it's seeing, so you get the full brunt of what is happening. And weirdly enough, the camera, it's almost mocking us in the weird moments of beauty that it finds, almost like, I'm gonna show you this moment of beauty because you know something horrible's coming up. When Pam gets up off the swinging chair, and there's that beautiful shot of her walking against the blue sky, the camera's almost going, oh, you want a nice Hollywood movie? Well, here's your nice glamour shot as she's literally walking into a slaughterhouse. She doesn't know that, but we do. So the beauty of the shot itself is mocking us, and it's amazing. It just really jangles your emotions. He likes what is lurking beneath what looks like a picture postcard. The beautiful Days of Heaven type shots of the landscape, or, you know, oh, this is nice, and then it just goes horribly wrong. There's one shot in Nosferatu that totally mirrors the shot in Texas when she gets up off the swing and walks into the house. It's a very calm, peaceful, idyllic shot of a ship coming into a harbor, but we know that ship is crawling with death and is bringing the plague to this city. He's using it in service of telling you that death and destruction is coming. And I love it. It's amazing. I've never forgotten that shot. This is my theory about Texas Chainsaw because, again, I've seen the movie 30 times. The opening credits have close-up shots of storms on the surface of the sun, red storms just blazing on the surface of the sun, and then in the rest of the movie, people are always looking up at the sun. It's like the sun itself has become diseased and is bathing the world in this madness, and it's starting to take hold, and we're just following a small group of people. I think the madness in that movie is spreading all over the planet. We're just watching one tiny incident of it. Leatherface seems terrified and horrified by the fact that people are in the house and doesn't quite know what to do. In a weird way, up until this point, I feel like Leatherface was just digging up bones, but maybe he wasn't really killing anybody. He was just digging stuff up and making arts and crafts out of it and furniture. But now people are being fed into the slaughterhouse, and first he clobbers the guy with a hammer, the way you would just stun a cow. Then he grabs the other woman, and with no diabolism or passion, just hangs her on a hook, turns, goes back to his work, because that's what you do. And then after he's killed the third guy, he goes into the front room and he's looking out the window like, what is happening? What is happening? Why are people coming to this house? Like, he's not prepared for this. Then later on, when his family comes home, they're yelling at him and bullying him. It's like the world is starting to go crazy.
Are you sure? You damn fool! You ruined the door!
That last shot of Leatherface waving his chainsaw at the sky, it's this bright red, ugly sun, like we saw in that first image, the sunstorms. The madness is fully taking hold of the earth, and Leatherface is trying to kill the sun with his chainsaw. She's in the back of the truck, laughing. She's gone insane, like the world is now going insane. It's an apocalyptic event. That's what I think is going on in that movie. And that's another link to Nosferatu, which is, it is an apocalypse coming to this city, whereas in Nosferatu, the rising sun saves the city from the plague and from the madness. But in Texas Chainsaw, there's no escaping it. The whole world is bathed in this evil radiation.
Oh, honey, you're gonna ruin your eyes. This is not good for you.
Everyone watches a movie differently. Everyone takes... here's an example of how everyone watches a movie differently. When I was in college, I went with my then girlfriend and her mom. I don't know why her mom was with us, but we went to see Silence of the Lambs. And we left the movie, and I was like, man, that was intense. Like, that was amazing. And then her mom said, I know that man had a ring in his nipple. And that was the thing that she took from that. And I was like, I think he was making clothes out of people, but like, that's what she landed on. So with Texas Chainsaw, you can look at it for what it is. It's a horror movie. A group of people come and they encounter monsters, and who's gonna get away? But you can also look at it as the most fucked up Western ever made, where this is the long, long, long hangover of Western expansion, of going out, subduing the Native Americans, killing off all the buffalo. We've done all that. There's nothing left.
Hey, man, did you go in that slaughter room or whatever they call it? The place where they shoot the cattle in the head with that big air gun thing.
Oh, that gun's no good.
I was in there once with my uncle.
No way. With a sledge. See, that was better. They died better that way.
Well, how come? I thought the gun was better.
Oh, no. With the new way people put out of jobs.
You do that?
Look.
So the people that did all the gross, dirty work that we don't like to look at, although we do enjoy our steaks, but I don't want to think about a guy with a hammer, killing a cow, but now they're, well, we're going to just start eating you. We still got to feed ourselves, so you're the cattle now. And now here's a van full of hippies, like literally a Scooby-Doo group, and they're being slaughtered by these displaced blue-collar workers. The family in Texas Chainsaw Massacre are doing the most extreme, disturbing version of how life operates. It's not you dying and feeding trees, it's somebody hanging you on a meat hook so they can cut steaks off of you and serve you to their family so the family can survive. Because I want to take care of my dad and my brother and my grandpa. And if they need it, I'll go make myself look like their mom. I'll be the mom. Like, there's this absolutely serving the function of family in the most damaged way possible. No matter how many flowers you garland over your backyard, no matter how many beautiful books you decorate your shelves with, you will eventually die. Your body, and death is a horror show. There's no way to get around it. There's a Stan Brakhage film called The Act of Seeing with One's Own Eyes, where it's a footage of an autopsy, and you watch it. I remember Alan Moore described it, where At the first, you're horrified. Oh my God, this is, they're cutting a body open. But then as it goes on, there is a kind of beauty in like, this is a really complex machine and it works. And that's me. I work that. There is beauty in all this gore. So if you can face the horror of it dead on without blinking, then there's poetry in you not blinking at it. The camera in Texas Chainsaw, by not blinking, by not judging, is being a very demented, poisonous sort of poet. Every frame has something unnerving in it. Like even a long shot of the highway, then there's a dead armadillo. This weird swoop of the chainsaw at the end when Leatherface is coming up after the pickup truck. Or that pause that Sally does after she closes the van door and then she sees that symbol. Or when they go visit the graveyard, there's just the people that are kind of laughing and crazy. And the one drunk sitting in the tire, I've always wondered, is he an accomplice of the hitchhiker? Is he quietly also helping him at night dig stuff up, and he's finally going nuts thinking about the morality of what he's doing, and that's why he's out there drunk like, I've seen things.
Things happen here about they don't tell about. I see things.
Is the guy who goes and comes and washes their window, is he another like cousin or weird distant inbred version member of the family that they don't know what to do with? They're like, just go out here and wash window. There's a whole infrastructure going on that they don't talk about, but it's there. And also just when they go and find the old house, there's all those clocks and watches with nails to them hanging in the tree, like much like Castle Dracula. You're now in a zone where time doesn't matter, gravity doesn't matter. We rule things here. Texas Chainsaw feels eternal. The experience itself will always be disturbing and frightening outside of any context that you're watching it in. The moment of Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the moment when Pam almost escapes the house. I feel like that moment separated a specific generation of horror movie fans. The ones who stayed became the people that read Fangoria and got into all the John Carpenter stuff. And the ones who were out were just like, yeah, this isn't it's just not my thing. And I know people my age now who like have never got beyond that point. Once the porch scene happens, they're like, yep, I'm out. It's also a very, very twisted version of the scene in Gone with the Wind where Rhett Butler, who basically rapes her, he just, you're not turning me out tonight. He picks her up and takes her up the stairs while she's pounding on him. It's just a mutant version of what people thought romance was in movies.
There'll be no locks or bolts between us, Mary Kate, except those in your own mercenary little heart.
You watch it now, you're like, oh, yikes. So at least Texas Chainsaw Massacre was like, well, this is what it actually is. You know, she is literally a piece of meat. Ka-chunk. I see Tobe Hooper as the best kind of film stylist in that he was an opportunist. You can plan and storyboard all you want. It's when you get to the location and realize, oh, that shot I want I can't get, but I could get this. They had no money. And it has that adrenaline, desperate quality to it of we're grabbing shots wherever we can. I watched it again on my big screen TV, and I just now realized the lamp over the dinner table, that's a human face. And the armchair, get it? So there's all these little details. Bob Burns, the art director, was friggin' amazing. I mean, look, Toby Hooper did kind of a scary thing for an artist, which is he really didn't blink from his dark side. Sometimes the zeitgeist picks a messenger, and that messenger doesn't realize that they're the one that's being picked, and they're the one that's channeling and delivering what the zeitgeist wants people to look at. And I think that the zeitgeist clearly is prankish and playful, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna show people what they are through the grossest drive-in movie possible, but that will actually stand the test of time.
Hello? Is anybody home? Excuse me, I'm looking for some friend. Hello?
もともと自分はなんかホラー映画とかって苦手な方で、ブルース・リーの映画が「燃えよドラゴン」映画に興味を持ってファンになって映画を見るようになったんだけど、それがブルース・リーが73年ぐらいで日本で、だから僕は中学校1年生ぐらいかな、13歳か。映画のファンっていうよりもブルース・リーのファンになって、映画の中で躍動している彼はいるんだけど、現実にブルース・リーという人間は僕らがその映画を見る1年前にもうこの世にいなかったんですよ。なんか虚像ですよね。で15歳になった時に映画が好きになって、チャップリンの「街の日」っていう古い映画が、リバイバル公開されてて、自分はそれを見に行ったんですよ。そしたらいっぱいで満席で入れなかったの。でも街に出たから、40分ぐらいかけて街に出たから、そのまま帰るのも残念なんで、やっぱりなんか映画を見て帰ろうと思って歩いていると、こう看板が、劇場の看板があって、日本じゃ悪魔の生贄っていうタイトルなんだけど、パニクってる写真とかが貼ってあったわけですよ。で、これはちょっとエッチな感じかななんて思って、街の日を見に行こうと思った柔らかい気持ちで偶然入っちゃったんですよね。そしたら映画が始まって、そこは大阪の松竹の古い劇場で、劇場の中にこう柱が立ってるような、かなりホラーにぴったりの劇場だったんですよ。その少年にとって映画って安全なものだったんですよね。それが初めて感じた、映画ってやばいんだ。みんなそれぞれのキャラクターが見てるうちにね、可愛くなってくるね。なんか愛情、愛おしくなってきて、終盤はなんかもっといけ、なんかゲラゲラ笑って見てるっていう、そういう今まで体験したことのない映画。あの頃の日本はあの映画によってテキサスは危険な場所なんだっていうふうにみんな思ったと思うんですよ。なんていうのかな、荒涼とした風景というか、悪魔の生贄っていうのはその当時の映画人にもものすごく強い インパクトを与えたと思うんだけど、なかなか作れなかったと。でもその影響とかずっとあって、やっとその後1990年代ぐらいになってから J ホラーっていうか、日本独特のホラー。それまではね、日本のホラーっていうのは怪談っていうジャンルだったんですよ。要は時代劇で古いお話、そこには日本のホラーっていうのは物語があるんですよね。で、何かひどい目にあった恨みを晴らす怖さとかっていうところが、悪魔の生贄って理由がないんですよね。そんな奴らがそこにいるっていうだけで、なんかそこは当時の日本人にとっては衝撃的だったし、日本の映画にはそういうものは存在しなかったっていうふうに自分は思ってます。僕らが映画はこういうものだと思った常識を一発でこう崩してしまう。映画監督としてのなんかシンパシーというか、近いところっていうなんかお手本のような、そういう存在ですよね。多分トビー・フーパーとしては16ミリっていうか35ミリで撮りたかったんだろうけど、でも何か要は結果的に自分はそのローバジェットで16ミリで撮ったっていうことが、あの映画にとって正解なんじゃないかなと思っていて、で16ミリカメラで撮ったものを35ミリにブローアップするんで、当然画質は荒れるんですよね。自分のオリジナルビデオを取り出した時っていう最初の頃、ほぼ監督になって10年間ぐらいはほとんど16ミリで撮っていた。オーディションっていう作品もそうだし、殺し屋一座キラーっていうのも16ミリなんですよ。痛みを想像できるっていうものをなぜか作りたくなるんですよね。しかもそこにはその暴力にこう意味はないんですよ。観客にこう衝撃というよりも、その痛みをその映像によって感じさせるっていうことに何か夢中になってしまう、多分癖だと思うんですよね。だからさっきの痛みっていう話でも、その原点にあるのはハンマーで殴られた後、女の人がガッてこう金具につられるんですよ。鍵にグサッて背中の。その時にものすごい痛みを感じたんです。それまで映画から与えてもらったことのない痛みっていうもの、うわっってその痛みが共有できたんですよ。その時のこう観客としてのなんか震えるようなって衝撃っていうのがやっぱりその針の痛みっていうものにもつながっているのかなっていうふうに思いますね。だからもう衝撃だったんですよね。その少年の頃にバンと戻れるあの時の恐怖が、蘇ってくるっていう影響を受けてるとかっていう次元の話じゃないですね、自分の場合は。他の映画で悪魔の生贄ほどのなんか、でも単なるその衝撃っていう意味では、その後スタジオジブリっていう日本のアニメスタジオが作った「蛍の墓」の幼い兄弟、それはその悪魔の生贄を見てから長らくなかった衝撃っていうものをこう感じた映画ですね。全くそれはタイプも違うわけですけど、同じような衝撃は受けました。でもそこはおそらくトビー・フーパーはレザーフェイスに愛情を持ったんだと思うんですよ。愛情を感じて、 その愛情から生まれてくる暴力バイオレンスっていう、そこは目的ではなくて結果生まれてくる。ラストシーン、その女が逃げてしまってわーっと一人でチェーンソーを振り回しているあの姿、まあ、彼のあの時のこう悔しさというか、それはなんか共有できる。そこはやっぱり、実はホラー映画やバイオレンス映画には最も必要なところなんじゃないかっていうふうに思いますよね。ハリウッド映画の僕が一番バイオレンスに感じるのは、例えばダーティー・ハリーというキャラクターがいて、
You believe in Jesus? Yes, I do. Well, you're going to meet him.
その中にやっぱり自分は、独特なバイオレンス、要はその映画の道具としてただ殺されていくっていう、そこに逆に言うと自分はなんかゾッとする、なんかバイオレンスを感じることが怖いなっていう、なんか愛情を感じないんですよね、そこに。
井上さんだ。
ダメだよ。相手に痛み与えるときは気持ち込めないと。
やっぱそこはそれは自分の感覚でしかないんだけど、また正しいのかどうかわからないんだけど、自分にはそう感じられるんですよ。だから愛情で生まれてくるものとそうではないものっていうのが自分にとっては一つ基準ではありますね。
愛がないな、お前の暴力には。
Where is my ring?
インプリント。確かに日本では絶対作れないよねこれっていう作品であることは確かですね。だから日本で映画を作ってる自分としては、作れない、今まで作ったことのない、いやそういう瞬間があったのかもわからないけど、すごく短かったですよね。それは、例えばオリジナルビデオっていう、要はジャンルが映画でもテレビでもないもので、あまり期待されてなくてローバジェットで作る、そういうで、その中には自由があったんですよ。要はバジェットがないだけでも、あとは、好きに作れるものがっていう、でもそれも5年とかぐらいの間で、自分はその5年ぐらいの間でゴズを作ったり一座キラーを作ったりっていう、そういう、偶然そこでそのチャンスを生かすことができた。あの時に少年15歳の時に悪魔の生贄に出会わなければ、確実に自分の人生っていうのは違っていただろうし、おそらく映画監督にもなっていないだろうしっていう、やっぱり50年経った今でも、自分の中でも色あせない、いつまでもみんなに評価されていてほしい大事な作品ですよね。大切にまだまだこれから育てていかなきゃいけないっていうふうには思ってます。トビー・フーパーは自分の人生を変える、俺の人生を変えるために作ったわけじゃなくてっていう、それからすると自分の作っているものもいつかどこかで10年20年後に、違う作品を生み出す人間が生まれてきてくれるかもしれないっていう、そういうその悪魔の生贄はたくさんの人たちにそういう場所を与えたというか作っていったっていう、やっぱり 自分も作ったものを見て誰かがどこかで何かを作り出してくれつながっていくと嬉しいなというのは思いますよね。
Did you ever go back to that theater to watch City Lights?
見てないです。だから街の日に罪はないんだけどね、自分の中ではそういう街の日を見に行こうと思ったらそこに行くってあれなんで、街の日を今度また見ようと思うと何かよからぬことが起こるんじゃないかっていう、そういう作品になってます。
I was born in the same year that Texas Chainsaw Massacre was born. So I grew up on the border of the outer suburbs of Melbourne in Australia and the bush, effectively. And we were about 40 minutes from Hanging Rock. So growing up, that film was hugely, hugely important to me because it really tied film and the magic of film to a place that I knew really well.
What we see and what we seem are but a dream. A dream within a dream.
And for my 8th birthday, my parents took me. They bought me a brand new little lace dress. And for some deranged reason, they thought it would be funny to hide. When I went to the bathroom, I came back, they were gone. And that has stayed with me.
Miranda, don't go up there! Come back!
That feeling has stayed with me. Partially resentment to my parents, but mostly just that fear and that connection of fear to the cinematic. For a lot of Australians of my generation, Texas was like Roadrunner cartoons. You know, it was this sort of imaginary, faraway place. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was denied classification in 1975 twice, and then again in 1981. It wasn't until 1984 that the film was cleared for release. My memory of Texas Chainsaw Massacre in those very early days when it was finally released was it was something that was the terrain of friends' older brothers, very gendered and very forbidden for little girls. And so there was a sense of danger and excitement to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, this film that's been banned for 10 years, finally released in Australia. I was far too young to see the film, but I have a kind of ambient memory of it being in the atmosphere. And I don't know where I first saw the trailer.
KTEL Video, your home of entertainment, presents more great titles from Filmways VTC.
This is the horror movie to end them all.
It feels like Leatherface cut the trailer to the Australian Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like it's off its head. It is mental. It has this incredible kinetic energy. It doesn't make a lick of sense at all. It's like an art film. It's like this avant-garde, experimental frenzy. And, you know, You have sort of flashes of generic horror content, but in a kind of blur, this sort of Stan Brakhage-esque experimental blur. It's like Mothlight with serial killers. It kind of has no relation to the film in that that's sort of images from one moment are sort of placed next to images from a completely separate part of the film. And so the sensory really takes dominance. And I think that that does come through in the film itself.
Get back and push down. This is impossible. I hear something out there.
So the first time I saw the film was when I was a bit older, so it would have been the early 90s. And it was always presented to me as a kind of test. Are you hardcore enough?
Got something for you.
So I first saw Texas Chainsaw alongside things like I Spit on Your Grave, Faces of Death, Executions. And because these films were really gate-kept by the young men that I knew at the time, there was a real clash there. And I remember watching these things and thinking, these are for me. Like, these really speak to me. These don't belong to you. So the Australian VHS release of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, really right through until the late 90s, was copied from like a really beat up film. So you have the wear and tear of normal VHS usage, combined with the fact that it was a pretty shitty print to start with. So the version that I saw and that most people of my generation saw on video doesn't look like the version that we see today. It's visually completely different. I don't remember that film having any blue or green in it. I remember it being yellow and scratchy and faded and beat up, and that was part of the danger. You know, the feeling that you were watching something really covert that you weren't meant to see. Because the version that I first saw was so yellow, I tethered it much more closely, I think, to a lot of Australian film that I'd seen.
What we see and what we seem are but a dream. A dream within a dream.
Because yellow is really, you know, very at the forefront of the aesthetics of the outback and of the desert. So yellow is how I see heat. And I knew that Texas was hot. And it's like, okay, so it looks like this. It looks yellow. So it's this very Australian aesthetic of heat. You know, it looks like things like The Proposition.
Australia. What fresh hell is this?
And it looks like things like Wolf Creek. It looks like the start of Wake in Fright. I first saw Wake in Fright on a VHS tape that was taped off this one famous TV broadcast in 1989. And of course, it's this washed out print that was shown on TV on a tape that had been played 100 times before. And I saw it at school, and it was, you know, hot Australian summer with no air conditioning in my classroom, which fits in, of course, beautifully to the film. It's like this sort of post-apocalyptic Kansas in like a really fucked up Wizard of Oz. And it's like, this is the outback. Welcome to Australia. My memory of it, seeing it on video, looks exactly like my memory of seeing Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it's tethered so tightly to the things that were going on in my world and in my life, in my country at the time. In 1983, we had dust storms, these enormous dust storms, terrifying dust storms. We had horrific bushfires, the Ash Wednesday bushfires, which were absolutely catastrophic. It's the most scary thing that's ever happened to me. It's the most frightened I've ever been. I have this very strong, vivid memory of these sort of yellow, very heavily yellowed images of houses that had been burnt down and all that remains of the chimney stacks. And every time, even now, no matter how many times I see Texas Chainsaw Massacre and I see that tombstone, I always think it's a chimney stack, every single time.
There she is, ladies. Hanging Rock.
Hanging Rock was so physically close to where those fires were. The bush that you see in Hanging Rock is the bush that was destroyed in those fires. It's the same place. And there's a beautiful little montage sequence in Hanging Rock where the girls are sort of swaying and spinning and they take off their shoes and it's hot. And I feel that heat. My body remembers that heat and that panic and that fear and that disorientation. So when I think of the dust storms and I think of the fires, over time they've sort of blurred with images from films. And the heat that I associate with Texas Chainsaw Massacre has sort of bled into my memories of the Ash Wednesday fires. And the fact that one was real and one was a film, you know, memory doesn't care. It doesn't care. It's like this weird, porous thing. I find it hard to be objectively critical about Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it's a film that you feel before you think about. It's a very smart film. The depth of the cultural knowledge is extraordinary to me. And I don't even know if it's conscious. I think it probably isn't even a conscious thing. I think of that moment in the van where the hitchhiker shows them the photographs of the meat. And the first photograph looks exactly like a Rembrandt painting. And the second photograph, very heavily reminiscent, I think, of a Francis Bacon. And there's Leatherface vibes there for me. There's no way that the Black Maria truck at the end is an accident. Black Maria was the name of Thomas Edison's film company. It was the very first film company. I feel like the hitchhiker when he takes his Polaroid photo and he's like, oh, you know, it's, oh, look, you know, the magic of photography, the magic of cinema.
You took my picture.
And that feeds back into this early film tradition where it's like, oh, I can't believe cinema's a thing. You know, I can't believe Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a thing. I can't believe it works. I can't believe this film pulls off what it does. Magic.
Everything means something, I guess.
That's my motto as a film critic. You know, film critics are often accused of reading too much into things. No art is ever created in a vacuum. Whether it's conscious or not, film soaks up the zeitgeist. It has to. It has to. It's extraordinary to me, the parallels between Texas Chainsaw Massacre and a lot of Australian cinema in the 1970s. It's eerie because these are places that are literally worlds apart. It's an odd thing to say, but I think we almost don't pay enough attention to Leatherface, which I know sounds strange because he's one of the great monsters of horror, right?
Where are the kids? Where are they, Julie?
It's a home invasion film from Leatherface's point of view. You know, he's really stressed out that these young people just turn up in his house. If you watch him as he moves from the kitchen to the window, he's fussing, like he's flapping. He's like, I don't know what to do with myself. It's such an Italian, like, Mamma Mia, like, it's so gestured, it's gorgeous. It's very Buster Keaton, the way that he moves. It's silent cinema, you know? It's the legacy of the Black Maria. As much as my memories of the film are tethered to yellow, so much of the film's energy completely changes with the color red. When I think of Hieronymus Bosch, I think of the Hellmouth. You know, these big sort of gaping red, terrifying voids that I think Texas Chainsaw makes quite literal. This idea of the Hellmouth, you know, taken from medieval art that was presented in paintings and in manuscripts as a literal mouth, like a big red mouth with, you know, people inside or devils with big red mouths. Those strange little art objects, you know, the feathers and the bones, these weird little things, they're like they're straight from a Hieronymus Bosch painting. And it almost feels to me like Texas Chainsaw was riffing on that. The scene with Sally and the cook, I think, is really pivotal. Sally's literally sandwiched between the cannibalistic grill and the saucers on the other side. I think that's really great. And Cook pushes her against a chopping block, you know, in case the cannibalism motif isn't kind of coming through already. And we have this incredible moment where he leaves to get the car. She thinks he's going to help. And the sound of the sizzling escalates and the sound of the radio escalates. You see the horror in her face when she puts it all together and realizes that what she's hearing and what she's seeing are connected. The way that that grill is presented is this terrifying, red, gaping void. It is the entry to hell.
And others in which only a hand or foot is moved. The remainder of the cadaver left intact.
My first movie experience was a horror movie. It was called Bambi. I was probably 3 years old, and I remember Bambi's mother saying, "Man has been in the forest," and I just went, oh my goodness.
What happened, Mother? Why did we all run?
Man was in the forest.
I've been a movie fan since forever. My first editor, Bill Thompson, said, Steve King has got a projector in his head. And there's some truth to that because I grew up on the films. I gravitated toward monster movies. My brother didn't care for them, and so I would usually find myself sitting by myself. I love the black and white movies. The idea that reality and the outrageously crazy could merge together in a film and it would be realistic. What I'm thinking about in particular was Ray Harryhausen's work in Earth versus the Flying Saucers, where you see a flying saucer crashed into the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C., and you see another one that wobbles and then takes off the Washington Monument. And I thought, I want to do that. I want to bring the reality and the make-believe together in the same place so that you can't even tell the difference. There are a lot of movies that are like that I just absolutely love. One of them is The Haunting of Hill House. That movie scared the living shit right out of me. It wasn't anything that you saw, it was what you thought you saw. You could see a door bellowing in and out like a lung. You could see a shape in the plaster that began to look like a face, that sort of thing. I just loved that. It's all suggested, it's all shadows. And there's a scene early on in The Exorcist where a clock just stops for no reason. It just tick, 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 and then it just stops. That's a very unsettling moment. You have to be a real artist, like Robert Wise in The Haunting of Hill House, to do the thing where it's just almost suggested. There isn't really a lot of blood in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I should say that I never saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre when it came out. I saw it in 1982 in Colorado. I was a young father, and I was writing to stay ahead of the bill collectors. I was in the theater almost by myself. And that's when a movie really has a tendency to work on you, you know, to get its cold little fingers under your skin. It had that kind of washed out 70s look, for want of a better term. You could tell that this print had been around for a while, and it's better for it because it just looks fucking real. And it works because there's no artifice about it. There's no, you know, kind of build up. There's no character nuance. I mean, there are scenes in the graveyard. They're not extras. They're not Hollywood people at all. They look like they came from the nearest little Texas town.
My granddaddy's buried here. Could we find out if anything happened to him?
What's your granddaddy's name?
Honey, that big, heavy feller's standing with that flashlight in his hand. That's the sheriff. You go tell him your granddaddy's buried in there.
Okay.
He'll let you in.
Thank you.
Say, fella, I'm gonna run off with the girl a minute. You don't mind, do you? Honey,
It's fantastic. And that adds to the horror because you never feel that kind of barrier, that see-through barrier between, oh, well, this is just a movie.
You want to get about 4 or 5 men and a couple dogs? There's a house over here behind those trees. We want to go check it out.
Night of the Living Dead is the same way. You know, you don't know any of those people. They look like real people. The zombies look like real people. It just feels like you can't tell where fact ends and fiction begins. The thing that sticks in my mind, of course, was they're trying to kill the girl, and they want to use a sledgehammer on her. And they keep trying to give the old man, who's just green, to give him the hammer. And that's a very Cormac McCarthy scene. In fact, in some ways, I see a book like Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy and Texas Chainsaw Massacre as almost like fraternal twins. The slaughterhouse, the idea about the bolt gun. It's a real Cormac McCarthy touch.
What is that for?
Would you hold still?
Air gun that shoots a bolt into their skull and then retracts it. It's just boom, goes boom.
Franklin, I like me. Please change the subject. Sally, that's terrible. It's still going on.
Josh! Josh, where are you? Tell me where you are!
Texas Chainsaw has a lot in common with the Blair Witch Project. My memory is I'd gotten hit by a van, and I was in the hospital, and I was in early recovery, and I was in a lot of pain. and I was taking a lot of dope for the pain. And my son came in, and my memory is that he had a TV monitor hooked up to an actual tape machine. And we sat and we watched that movie, and the more we watched, the more these kids got into the woods and started to see these talismans hanging from the trees and everything. I got to a point where I said, Joe, turn it off. I can't take any more. And that's rare. I'm kind of case hardened, but every now and then one will get under your skin, and that one really got under my skin. Both of them were made on tiny budgets with small casts, and both of them have a look that's almost amateurish, but they both work because you don't really see what's going on at first. I don't think in the Blair Witch Project you ever see exactly what's going on, because it all leads up to that final shot with the guy standing in the corner of the basement with his face to the wall. It's terrifying, but you can't even say why it's terrifying. Whereas in Texas Chainsaw, the brilliant thing that Toby did was he begins with a number of Polaroid photographs that flash and are gone, flash and are gone. And we find out later that they're bodies that have been exhumed from a cemetery. But really, beyond that, you know, my old agent, Kirby McCauley, used to say, it's all violins. It's all violins. You don't really see too much. I think that at some point, you have to put your cards down on the table. You have to show what's there. That's always been my philosophy. Horror is disintegrating into a pile of putrescence. Whereas terror is that ball bouncing down the stairs in The Changeling. It's a really scary moment. I've always felt that horror was easy, and at the same time, terror is probably a finer emotion if you want to put an adjective on it. But I have tried to use terror in some of my stories, mostly The Shining, which is a story where you just see things out of the corner of your eye for quite a while before the horror really kicks in. The things that are primal and terrifying are the things that we know as children that we really, really fear. Like when I was a kid, I can remember seeing frost on the window and thinking that it was the face of some crazy person who was out there trying to get in. And so if I were to make a movie and put frost on the window and shoot it the way that Robert Wise shoots some of the plaster figurines in that bas relief in that movie, I think it would work, because I think that most children, they may not have seen frost on a window that looks like a face, but they've seen like dolls that are terrifying for some reason, you know, that appear to be pleasant enough in the daytime, but once it's nighttime, they take on a different aspect. Toby gets some of that in Poltergeist. So it can go either way, but you have to be a real artist to do the thing where it's just almost suggested.
silencer at least. Oh my God, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
It is scary in a way, and Blair Witch is scary in a way that Hollywood movies don't seem to be able to replicate. And I think part of the reason is because there are too many people involved with the creative process in movies. I've run into producers who say, well, yes, I want to give you notes about this and that and the other thing. I hate the goddamn notes, okay? Because whatever they want to do, every step homogenizes the process a little tiny bit more. With Texas Chainsaw, Toby didn't have to worry about any of that. He could do where the spirit moved him. So you see that in small budget independent movies. It's true with Evil Dead. Evil Dead is balls to the wall horror. When I saw Evil Dead in Cannes, I went nuts for that movie. I thought it was really terrific, really scary, and really, really original. And I said to Sam, when I finally met him, Sam Raimi, I said, how did you do that Steadicam thing? I said, Kubrick took all this special equipment and very expensive stuff to make what's essentially a very cold movie. And Sam Raimi just kind of laughed and he said, there were two people holding a 2x4 with the camera mounted on it, and they just ran like hell. That's a solution that wouldn't occur to somebody who's making a Hollywood movie. The merits of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Well, I think it puts us all in touch with our primal fears, and it gives us a chance in a relatively harmless place to experience emotions that we ordinarily wouldn't feel. And I think those things are valuable. Not everybody does. Is that social? Is that social? I don't know if it really is. You know, that's a question of morality. And I'm not sure that when you deal with entertainment, those boundaries are necessarily the same. Speaking just for myself, I actually want to violate good taste. I think that that's where you're supposed to go as somebody who writes horror fiction or stuff that has to do with the macabre. I'm sure that at the time when Poe wrote that Telltale Heart story, and he wrote about dismembering the body and putting it under the floorboards, there were people who went, that's too far, that's too far. Well, you're supposed to go too far. I think that when it comes to movies, the taste and conscience side of it belongs not with the filmmaker, but with the people who do the rating for the films. And I think that their tastes and their ratings are very plastic.
The swearing, Paul. There, I said it.
The profanity bothers you.
It has no nobility.
For instance, you know, you can see a movie where Godzilla stomps a city and it will get a PG-13 rating. And as long as you don't show dismembered bodies, it's all right. But when you draw back a little bit and you think about it, there are thousands of people that are being killed by movies in like Godzilla or Marvel pictures with supervillains that lay waste to huge cities. We just don't see them. Sam Peckinpah once said, there's nothing more pornographic than a Hopalong Cassidy movie, where you go pow, like that, and the guy goes, oh, like this, and he falls down. There's no blood, there's no mess, there's nothing like that. It's very sanitized. He just goes, oh, God, like that. He doesn't say, oh, God, because that wasn't allowed. But Peckinpah said, I'm going to actually show what happens, so that in a movie like Straw Dogs or The Wild Bunch, you see what happens to the people who are shot. There's blood. He even shows it in slow motion. So, yeah, morality and movies, morality and art, I don't think they really go together. Somebody else has got to decide that. You can't ask Toby what he thinks about taste and conscience, because Toby has gone to the great reward in the sky. If you asked me, I would say he never thought about taste and conscience in the least bit when he made that movie. You never know what boundaries are going to be violated, because that's what it's about. It's an outlaw genre, really, and it always has been. You can't ever get comfortable, and that is the artist's job, to make you uncomfortable. I think that there's a great gun culture in this country that's partially fueled by movies like Death Wish. The difference between a movie like Death Wish and a movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is you don't really expect some impressionable 18 or 19-year-old to go out and buy a chainsaw and start cutting people up. Whereas somebody who saw Death Wish might very well say, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Never mind the movie, fuck that. Let's go out and shoot a bunch of drug pushers or something. You have to be careful about that. Now, I have a book called Rage that was published. It was written halfway through senior year in high school, and it was about this kid, Charlie Decker, who comes in and shoots his teacher and holds his class hostage with a gun, and gets the class sort of like on his side. And then later on, there was a shooter in Oregon, and he shot 3 or 4 kids, and that book was found in his locker, and there were a couple of other cases. And I said, this might actually be an accelerant. And I pulled the book because I don't want to think of myself as partially responsible for that. It was written at a time when school shootings were unheard of. That's my only defense, and it isn't a good one.
Camera. 74 November, take 9.
I admire this movie so much, and it was made for, you know, chump change, really. It's amazing. And Toby was young when he made this movie, too, because you don't know at that point that you can't do certain things. So everything is on the table. It's a fantastic thing. It's a kind of a classic feel to it, a classic primal horror movie feel. Man, the movie is like fucking less than an hour and a half long. It's almost a short subject. It really gets in there. It's like a Beatles song, in a sense. The archetypal Beatles song would be like, She Loves You, or I Want to Hold Your Hand. 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Gets in, does its business, done. There's no fat. There's nothing. So, yeah, I would say that it's timeless. And you can't say it's part of the zeitgeist because it's so early. You know, it feels like, almost like the zeitgeist came later. Do you see what I'm saying? That it's like just its own thing. I read somewhere that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the only movie about psychotics that was made by a psychotic. And it does have some of that feeling to it. I worked with Toby a little bit on Sleepwalkers, and Toby was just this soft-spoken, nice man and quite handsome, and he had his lines down pat.
Hey, buddy, I ain't taking the rap on this. I lock this place up every night. It's not my fault if every pervert, weirdo,
Well, don't talk to
horny
me. Go talk to someone in charge. I'm busy.
And I didn't get a real chance to talk to him, but my idea about him was, yes, he's like the rest of us that do this for a living. He puts on his normal face, and he comes out and he does his job. And I'm the same way. I wear a normal mask when I'm doing these things, and then I turn into somebody else when I'm writing something that's really scary. And there's always a kind of a smile on my face because I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna get you.
The first time I got to see the movie was on film, actually, at the Angelica Film Center. I was about 19. I was probably in the fourth or fifth row, and I remember walking out of that theater feeling like I had never seen such a legitimately terrifying vision of the world. I didn't understand that the movie was going to affect me the way a great work of art can affect you. And to see a movie that had this grindhouse kind of reputation, and then to recognize it as an American masterpiece, was just this really interesting disjunctive experience for me as a young artist. I feel like we are watching this incredible depiction of multiple populations that feel entitled to a way of life.
You don't want to go fooling around other folks' property. Some folks don't like it, and they don't mind showing you.
Oh, my father owns it.
And that's your daddy's place, huh?
Yeah.
Whether it's the kids in a van who want to see an old home that's in their family. They already have the legacy of owning property. They have the legacy of having a car and taking a vacation, road tripping together. Or the nightmare family they run into and are tragically going to collide with. That family is sort of the other side of the coin of this depiction of an American family in which their industry has been taken away, their livelihood has been taken away, and yet there is a sense that they are owed their jobs back as professional killers and good killers. To watch the dinner scene again in the very quiet privacy of my own home, where I'm certain my dog thought something terrible was happening in the other room, I was really struck by the depiction of, first of all, this idea of the patriarchy.
I won't have this.
It brings up so many complicated feelings as you watch it, because on the face of it, what's happening is offensively violent, offensively grisly, and yet it has this quality of high comedy because it really is so revealed as base and pathetic. they as a family are so pathetic.
He's just a cook. Shut up, you bitch hog. You Leatherface do all the work. He don't like it, ain't that right? You're just a cook. Shut your mouth. You don't understand nothing.
I cannot help but watch the movie and feel some very uncomfortable sympathy for those characters and deep sadness. When they're talking to Sally at the dinner table, it's the saddest, scariest depiction of masculinity I think that might exist on film, and of a broken masculinity. Leatherface is a child, and the chainsaw itself is just another prop in a role he's trying to find a place in the production to play. Like, he's in a family with no role, and that has made him completely insane.
Harry, you want to take off the mask? Huh? No? Okay. Harry.
And so to see human monsters like this, it's actually evoking, I think, the feelings that a lot of older horror classics, I think particularly of Frankenstein, where that monster is the product of something larger, something far more diabolical and fucked up. I can't look at Leatherface and feel like he's simply a monster. He is a part of us. And for that reason, I can't reject him out of hand. There's something about this family's inability to modernize that is both like incredibly touching and maddening, because they are stuck in an America that doesn't exist for them anymore, and it's made them insane. And I feel like that's something that Tobe Hooper and Kim Henkel were investigating. What do you do when you take a person's livelihood away, no matter what you think of their livelihood? And I think in a funny way, the monster family and the victim family are incredibly entwined in their identity in a way, and in their expectation of what America owes them and what the promise of the American dream really is.
Didn't you say there's a swimming hole around here?
Yeah.
Well, Pam and I'd like to go swimming, man.
There used to be a trail down between those two old sheds.
Come on, we'll find it. This must be it.
Perhaps the bigger nightmare of the movie is that it didn't exist at all. I feel like watching the movie 50 years on, it is as if we are witnessing the young artist Tobe Hooper looking into the future of America. And he is imagining a world on fire. He is imagining a level of American violence that seems to be unprecedented day after day. He's seeing a depiction of community relationships that have completely disintegrated. And it's like the movie is evergreen, so sadly, for Americans, because it feels relevant still, even strangely more relevant to me now.
Health officials in San Francisco reluctantly admit they may have a cholera epidemic on their hands. Some 40 cases of the highly infectious disease have been confirmed.
And he sets it all up in those opening minutes with the bad news that could be the bad news I'm listening to on my drive to talk to you today, 50 years on. I mean, it's an uncanny kind of prescience. By putting the date at the beginning of a movie like this, or like Psycho, instead of making it more real, what it does is it makes it timeless. in planting this concept of specificity for the audience, a day that something terrible happened, for which and to which we can apply all kinds of memories of our own. It's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is saying, well, this film is going to now enter that pantheon of memory for you and will be burned in your memory forever. It's like he's branding the audience with the time. The date is very powerful to me. August 18th is the day my brother died. And I feel like I just feel like that date visits me in this interesting kind of cosmic way. And it's just a strange thing. Strange.
When malefic planets are in retrograde and Saturn's malefic, okay, their malefice is increased.
The depiction of and the conversation around the planetary alignments on an astrological level, along with the constant reference to the sun and the moon visually in the language of the film, to me is part of that bigger strategy that Tobe Hooper was employing that seemed to suggest something almost mythic about what we were about to watch, that it's not small town America. It's a depiction of primal human animus, primal human urges and disappointments that can only end in catastrophe, but it's as if he's saying, you know, this is the landscape of myth. And so we are witnessing that getting acted out upon these terribly unlucky characters, but then we're also witnessing this violence being perpetrated by characters who themselves also seem terribly unlucky.
The film which you are about to see is an account of the tragedy which befell a group of 5 youths.
I mean, I always forget about the opening crawl. And then to see it, it's like what Hooper is preparing us for is the American nightmare. And then he's titillating us by saying, and it's a true story, which is its own kind of theatrical flourish of the film. And then to be in that graveyard and get those fast shock cuts.
Officers there discovered what appeared to be a grisly work of art.
Along with this incredible tracking shot, it's as if, to me, Hooper, the filmmaker, is announcing himself and saying, and now I present to you a grisly work of art. Such an interesting question to think about, the role of beauty and poetry in art. And this larger question, perhaps, about its necessity. The feathers that fly through the air as we watch characters crawling across a floor to find a piece of furniture made out of bones. It's so much like the thing that would bring a child back to Grimm's fairy tales, even if it meant they lost some sleep and had nightmares. And I think that is the secret ingredient to the film's brilliance, is that he's not making something that we can strictly look away from. The final sequence of Texas Chainsaw on the highway, it's a collision of competing ideas about the American project as something hopeful, optimistic, fair, and then the madness of human impulse, human instinct. Hooper is saying, in my opinion, I'm not optimistic about America, but I do believe beauty still has a place. And that idea that in other horror films, the sun rises to put evil to bed, I think in Hooper's case, he's saying the sun rises so that we may see evil better, so that it's more legible to us. Eggshells is an interesting first film because it's really clear that Tobe Hooper was interested by American motifs. The concept of the big old house. The concept of the town square. I think Eggshells displays this really interesting sense of freedom. Freedom with the camera, freedom with the rhythms of the storytelling. And it was sort of like a test run for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I think became a much more classically distilled story. And then he took some of those stylistic flourishes and really found his filmmaking voice, his visual language. And there's something about This Is America, right? Like the plains, a sense of wide open space, a sense of possibility, a sense of modernity is welcome here with this, vehicle slicing through the frame. So it's kind of playing on our romantic notions of the American landscape.
Hello?
His obsession with doorways and framing people in doorways, it makes me think of Bergman. It makes me think of Tarkovsky. I feel like Hooper is right up there with indelible images about characters at a threshold from which walking through the door ensures you will never return to your old life. There's a sequence in Texas Chainsaw that I watch and have to fight the urge to look away, and also want to figure out exactly how it was achieved, which is the moment that Leatherface takes Pam's bare-backed body, lifts it up onto that meat hook. I'm sure there are cuts that allow for a trick of the eye, but my experience of it is always this is one continuous nightmarish thing happening, and it feels so real. It's so beautifully staged and framed to set it up with the bare hook previous to that moment, so that you are really focused on it. You really sense its potency in the frame. I have that experience with other movies like Come and See, the Russian film. There's a sense that what I'm watching is a living, breathing nightmare. What makes this movie an enduring masterpiece is that its thesis seems to be America is a madness, and I want you to look at it and experience it. And there's art that perhaps works within a more polite setting, but ultimately I think most great art is a punch in our complacent faces. That movie expands my notion of what art even is. It allows me permission to make stories that feel maybe harder sometimes or more unpleasant.
Spit on it. Fuck you. Spit on it.
and still believe that there's a place for beauty, there's a place for redemption. I think Tobe Hooper wanted people to walk out of that theater shaken and changed. And he did that using the medium in a really sophisticated way. He uses so much art and poetry in the filmmaking that I would think many audience members couldn't help but feel seen, spoken to, provoked, and respected. I can't think of a better mission as an artist, you know, to make work that is attempting to see its audience and make them see something bigger than just the mirror. It's a hard movie to watch. It's a hard movie to rewatch, and I keep going back to it because it's worth it. It has poetry, beauty, shock, awe, tragedy. It's as big an American film as any American classic. And for that reason, I keep returning to it because it gives something back. There's always more to see.
Sally? Sally?
There's always more subtlety and meaning to glean from rewatching it.
Sally!
How lucky we are as cinephiles to have Texas Chainsaw Massacre as an American statement.